Greetings and salutations, fellow nerds. Today is Tuesday. Unfortunately, this week's video is going to be a lot more stationary than the previous 2 weeks because I just realized that my sister's iPod is almost dead. So in the 4 hours that I've been sitting around, I could have been charging it so I can be walking around right now. Sorry about that. I hadn't forgot about the show and tell theme this week, but before I go into that, I wanted to ask you guys' opinion on something. Well, Halloween is on Monday, and me and my sister decided it might be kind of fun to have a horror movie marathon, you know, in typical Halloween tradition. And I wanted to ask you guys which movies I should watch. Now, me and my sister have narrowed it down to the original 1930s Dracula, the original 1930s Frankenstein, the original 1930s, possibly 1940s Wolfman, Friday the 13th, the original, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, Halloween, the original. Anyways, leave a comment down there, let me know what we should be watching. On to the main topic of this video, and this is going to be a lot more emotional than I want it to be. I thought for a really long time about what I should do my show and tell thing on. I wanted to do it something really fun. Then I remembered something. On Saturday, it will have been 3 years since this man died. This is what I'm showing for show and tell. It's a pamphlet from the funeral of the most amazing person I've ever met in my life. The man you just saw is Timothy G. Hayden. He was my history and theater teacher my freshman year. He died on October 29th of 2008. And this Thursday, I'm supposed to be going to a 3-year memorial thing up at my old high school. Anyways, if I can talk a little bit about him, because it's going to be the only way that I can survive the next couple of days. Mr. Hayden was just an incredible man. He was the funniest person I've ever met in my life. Mr. Hayden comes into class one day, and he sits down and he's like, I just had the most humorous thought in the class right before this one. We all asked what was it. So, we were talking about the JFK assassination, and does anyone know Alex Brooks? And, you know, a couple of us raise our hand, and he says, well, Alex Brooks raised his hand, and he said, Mr. Hayden, isn't there a rumor that there was a guy who was standing behind a grassy gnome that had killed JFK? And all I could think about was this guy with a rifle behind, like, a giant garden gnome, just... Beyond that, he was a kind soul. He really did care about his students. As far as me personally, the guy inspired me to quit doing a lot of really stupid things, which I'm not going to get into details with. He inspired me to take the entertainment thing seriously. Were it not for him, I don't think I'd be on YouTube right now. I would have never tried stand-up comedy. I would have never been in a band. Tim Hayden really did inspire me to become the person that I am today and pursue the career that I am pursuing today. And unfortunately, I never got to tell him that. The last time I ever talked to Mr. Hayden was about 6 months before he died. I'd been working on a play, which was a parody of Romeo and Juliet. I was working on that, and I asked Mr. Hayden to read it, and I gave him the script, and he read through what I had so far. And my history class and his classroom in 10th grade were right next to each other. So he pulled me out of class, pulled me into his classroom, and he sat down with me for a good 20-30 minutes and critiqued it. You know, he let me know what he liked about it, he let me know what he didn't like about it. And, you know, that's one of my strongest memories of him. It could be because it was my last memory with him, but the fact that he actually took that much time out of his day and his life to really sit down and read what I had done, it meant a lot to me. Tim, I love you. I miss you. Thank you for everything you have done for me. Godspeed, man. Hayden, I'll see you tomorrow. Real quickly, if I can tell you two really quick Mr. Hayden stories, I think you guys will really appreciate it. It will give you an idea of how funny this man was. Now, whenever he taught in class, he was notorious for going off on his little side rants. He'd start off on one subject and end on something completely different. Well, one example of this is, I remember he was teaching the French Revolution, and I have no idea how he got on the topic, but he went from the French Revolution to a story of him finding a roadkill squirrel on the side of the road with one of those little miniature American flags next to it. And I remember he said, wait a minute, how did I get on this topic? And this kid, I think his name was Andy, what he used to do was he'd actually sit in the very back of class and write down notes, not about what the lesson was about, but how Mr. Hayden got on his side tangents. And I remember him just standing up, actually, Mr. Hayden, I can tell you how you got on that topic. You see, you started here, and you went here, and then you finally ended up on that story. Another story was, toward the beginning of the year, Mr. Hayden brought in this little personal recorder thing, where he'd make little notes about something that he had to do later on in the day. And the same kid, Andy, I feel bad for not remembering his name, but I'm pretty sure it was Andy. Well, somewhere in the lesson, Andy said something about Mr. Hayden's mama. And Mr. Hayden pulls out his personal recorder while looking this kid dead in the face, holds it up to him. Note to self. Make fun of Annie Klein's mama. Annie Klein, that was it. And, toward the end of the year, he, walks into class and he's like, okay, so does everyone remember that personal recorder that I had at the beginning of the year? We all nodded yes. Yeah, we remembered it. And he says, well, I was listening to that for the first time in a couple months, and I stumbled across this message I had left saying, note to self, make fun of Annie Klein's mama. Does anyone remember why I did that? And Andy stands up. I remember why you did it. It's because I said this. I'm going to make fun of your mama every chance I get this class. And every opportunity he got, he made a yo mama joke against Annie Klein. Rest in peace, Mr. Hayden. I love you.